two teams with a whole bunch of wins. The Bucs are 3-point favorites at home, or 2.5, depending where you look. This game is Sunday, late afternoon game. Pretty high over under, almost 50, 47.5. We're going to start. I mean, these teams have both been battered with injuries, but they're still 4-1. They still are doing some nice things on both sides of the ball. So it should be really fun. Kind of a proving ground matchup in a way. Obviously 4-1 versus 4-1, but also just to see where these teams are at, even with all the injuries, maybe getting some guys back. But we'll start with when the 49ers have the ball going against this Bucs defense that's still pretty good against the run. Seahawks got them a couple times as the game went along, but I can kind of get after them in the pass through the air, especially on early downs. But 49ers are battered. They still are winning games. Shanahan's doing a great job. If you look at the injury report of this game, it's absolutely hysterical. But on this side of the ball, thank you for pulling it up on the YouTube show. It just goes on and on. They had to minimize it because it's just to fit the 49ers injured guys. This side of the ball, 49ers offense, Bucs defense. Chuck, what are you focusing on?
Well, it looks like Brock Purdy is going to be out again this week with the toe injury. So again, another Mac Jones start, which it's been interesting because if you just compare the numbers side by side, just on you look at some more advanced stats, their performance has kind of come out to be fairly even so far this year in terms of just overall production, which it just kind of continues to just drop points in the bucket that Kyle Shanahan is just really, really good at this. And I think that, I know it's obvious to say, but he's got Mac Jones out there, going on the road against the Rams on Thursday night and putting together enough offense where they can go and win that game, even when, they have another performance on the ground where they're kind of struggling to get the ball moving with Christian McCaffrey, in that manner. So, I think that, just knowing that, if I hadn't seen Mac Jones play in this offense, I'd be like, man, maybe this is a get right game for Tampa Bay's defense. But now that we've already got a couple games of proof that this can work and you can actually be productive and score a lot of points with Mac Jones as your quarterback, as long as Kyle Shanahan is pulling the strings, then I think this could be another game where San Francisco scores the ball. We just saw last week, and not just last week, all season, Tampa Bay's defense is kind of susceptible to the pass, especially when they dump off the running backs and tight ends and stuff like that. So if you're looking at this from Kyle Shanahan's perspective, well, we don't run the ball well. Tampa Bay stops the run really well. So probably don't even try to do that all that much and just try to get them out in space and do what we do best. But I think it's going to be another fun matchup because you get to see another Mac Jones start, which is just Kyle Shanahan, I think, at his best.
He had this most excitement I've seen out of him. Even when he was he's always been pretty good with his quarterbacks. Shanahan's pretty good about kind of protecting the QB. That's kind of an old school West Coast coach thing. Mike Holmgren was always like that, where he's no, the quarterback's fine. I'm not going to, but he was just over huge praise on Mac Jones. Look how tough he is. All this stuff. And I was like, oh, he's really excited. I mean, it was that win against the Rams last week was probably one of his better ones. You tell me this 49ers team, if you told me an offense lost their starting quarterback, Pro Bowl quarterback, starting all-pro tight end, top 3 receivers are out, in and out of the lineup, I should say. The left tackle is taking a step back, and you kind of expect the passing game to take a dip. Nope. It just keeps on churning. It's the run game that's taking a dip for the 49ers. CMC's healthy, which was the big question mark of this offense going into the season because he was battling injury stuff where they traded for Brian Robinson. And I was looking it up. I was after they played a couple tougher defenses against the run, I should say. Right. But here we are. There's that 49ers offense, 10th in DVOA overall. They are middle of the pack in EPA, but again, they've had all these injuries, but they're 10th in EPA per dropback. And if you look at success rate, they're 29th in rushing success rate, but 5th in passing success rate. And they're just not explosive on the ground right now, but they're pretty decent with explosive passes. This is the lowest average distance to go on third down that Shanahan has had since he's been the 49ers head coach. 6 yards to go on third down. Usually hovers in the 7-yard marks. Easily the worst run game. Again, CMC's healthy. And I know they have a rookie left guard, but if you mentioned CMC, so it's oh, of course the run game drops off, but he's the healthy guy. 37%, which is actually still not that bad in terms of where most people are at. It was 46% in 2023 when they made the run to the Super Bowl, their second run. Second best passing success rate, that Shanahan's ever had, and that's swapping injured Purdy and Mac Jones in and out. Mac Jones's stats are identical to Purdy's as far as success rate wise, still taking sacks at a lowest rate. They both have like a top 5 success rate passing wise, which again just speaks to like what Shanahan's dialing up. So it's just not as explosive as it's been at its peak, but that's because every skill player guy is hurt. And it's just a bunch of backups playing. So that makes sense. But it's a credit to Shanahan. I just think Mac Jones is a fine operator in this offense. Like he knows exactly where to go with the ball. He's not taking sacks. He only has 1 scramble. Like he's not making any bad decisions because he knows, okay, going here. And he kind of knows what he is. Like he has some nice ball placement moments, but he's going to work more underneath, more Jimmy G-ish.
Yeah.
As far as working underneath. Purdy's got a little bit more recklessness to him, which makes it kind of opens up the offense in some ways. But for what this offense needs, you kind of need that steady hand. And that's what Mac Jones has been so far.
Yeah, I was just about to say it's kind of funny, like where you do see their stats split between Purdy and Mac, where Purdy had a top 5 explosive pass rate this season before he got hurt. Mac is about closer to below average, but he's also got way fewer interceptions than Purdy because he's not really throwing the ball downfield as much or take as many chances. But then it's funny. One stat that really made me laugh was Brock Purdy was pressured on 42% of his dropbacks, one of the worst marks in the league, but he's only sacked on 2.7% of his dropbacks. Mac Jones has been pressured on 26% of his dropbacks, which is second best in the league, but he has a higher sack percentage than Brock Purdy does. Mac is who he is, right? Like if he starts extending and he's holding the ball too long, things are bad. But in this offense, just getting the ball out and kind of being a point guard, it really does work.
Yeah, he can operate it. And if they get healthy, Kittle's practicing. I don't know if he's going to play or not. Juwan Jennings, I think, limited practice today being Thursday. And then Ricky Pearsall looks like, I would bet that Pearsall's not playing. But Kendrick Bourne, the Bourne supremacy, he's just racking it up. Like he's it's kind of a joke, but like Bourne's just like a nice solid player. Like he's good to have on your team. You don't want him as your number 1, like the Patriots have had for a couple of years.
Right.
But as your number 3, great. But the Shanahan has always liked him. He's always dialed up plays for him in the third down the red zone, or at least when he had him the first time around. So I wasn't surprised by that performance on Thursday because it's like he's going to get the job done. And again, it's Kyle Shanahan dialing up plays, and he's doing a great job. The Bucs defense was interesting last week because they had so many injuries, especially in the back end, where Jacob Parrish, their rookie, who's been great in the slot, had to line up outside a whole bunch of times. So I'm curious if that happens again this week. And the Seahawks picked on him, which was like I just did my quarter pole awards, and they kind of heard him in my defensive rookie of the year standings. Because it's such recency bias, and it's not fair because Parrish will never play on the outside full time. He's going to be a slot guy, but it's like I can't nominate him. Right. 7 catches, 7 targets, 7 catches, 6 of them were successful for the offense. I mean, he had some tight coverage, but they were just giving him the business. It was just, so it was kind of like that's in my head. So I was sorry to Parrish. He's a great player. Like he should be number 3 on my list, but just that last week. But that's interesting to me because if that happens again, now you're going against this 49ers team that might have some damaged receivers. But again, it's Kyle Shanahan down up plays. Kind of saw some proof of concept with that Kubiak offense going against this Bucs defense before, in the Shanahan offense. So, interesting side of the ball. But I do think that the 49ers, they're always going to have answers with Shanahan. And I think just why I think too long didn't read of this is that Mac Jones can operate this offense. And if they get healthier, it's actually kind of cool about what it can be. But it's going to be successful when they pass the ball, which is kind of the key when you go against Vita Vea with some undersized interior offensive linemen. Now, other side of the ball, Bucs offense, 49ers defense. What do you think about this one? This, Nick Bosa, of course, is no longer playing. Bucs offense, just the Emeka Buka show. And then a little bit of Rashad White with Bucky Irving out. But good to see Tristan Wirfs back there getting rolling. But what do you think about this side of the ball?
I feel like conflicted about the 49ers defense. I guess I would say overall, like they're not playing all that well right now, but they still are getting like some incredible like individual efforts from guys like Fred Warner. Like Fred Warner has been unbelievable this season. Like I can't imagine where their defense would be without him on the field because obviously last week, that game against the Rams wasn't their best performance in just over the last 2 weeks. They're ranked 24th in success rate, 24th in offensive dropback success rate, 23rd in offensive EPA per play. I mean, it's kind of been trending down, and I think a lot of that is probably just due to like youth, and you're still trying to figure out how to replace like a lot of the bodies you've lost over the past few years. But for this game, like I think it's probably a little bit concerning, because when you look at what Tampa Bay did last week, but I think when you look at how they were able to just torch Seattle, who has performed better on defense than Tampa and then San Francisco has this year. And I know Seattle, they weren't at full strength either, but when you can put up a performance like that, really against one of the top defenses in the league, and have that connection, especially between Baker and Ibuka, that's going wild. I kind of struggle to see like where on the outside San Francisco has the talent, I guess, to kind of shut down what they were able to do last week, because you don't have Nick Bosa out there. It's just kind of like Fred Warner putting out a bunch of fires, and you got some of the rookie defensive linemen playing well, but overall, I just kind of think they have too much firepower and talent for where San Francisco is right now.
It's Lenore is a great player. It's these, and Stout, the rookie, is in the slot, is better going forward. He's not bad in coverage. He's actually surprised me a little bit. Got a lot of K1 Williams to his game. They just love these little sawed off slot guys. But he's a good blitzer and good against the run. It's just, coverage, you can kind of get him. He's not bad. He's a little better than I expected. But it's still, I agree with you. Kind of sum it up. I agree with you that it's like, as long as you're not going to Lenore, you can kind of have the 49ers defense, for better or for worse, especially under Saleh, is kind of predictable. Like, you can really especially run on them, like duo wise. And I know I always bring it up, it's a joke, but like the Bucs will run duo like crazy, especially behind Wirfs and the left side. And the 49ers are going like, that's fine. We bet you won't do it again. That's their philosophy. Fred Warner will clean up the mess. You're only going to get 5 yards. That's fine. You won't do it again. But Bucs last year probably would have done it over and over and over again. So I'm curious what they expect. And watching this offense and just watching Baker, and I know Baker's getting some MVP talk. I do think he is playing well, but I'm not considering him MVP so far this season.
No, not yet.
Watching how much he's scrambling, because he's running more than he ever has in his career, and it's a better scrambles than he used to do it. He used to always think that he could outrun guys to the back, and I was always like, oh, Baker, like you're not Russell Wilson in his prime or anything. He would just do it all the time, and now he's stepping up. And I know sometimes it takes years before guys can figure this stuff out. It seems to have clicked for him. So I started looking. I was like, man, he's scrambling a bunch. Patrick Mahomes is scrambling a bunch. Now we got Drake May running around. Quarterbacks seem to be scrambling a lot. And guess what? They are, my friend Charles McDonald. They're scrambling at the highest rate, nearly 6%, 5.9%. That's the highest rate ever league-wide in NFL history. It broke 5% for the first time in 2023, and then now it just keeps climbing. And now it's 5.9. Wow. More EPA has been added per scramble since 2018, the second most to 2002. Same thing with success rate. There's been more yards per scramble league-wide, 7.9 since 2002. That's the furthest I can look back in true media. Most first downs per rush since at least 2002. And I just think it's interesting. I was like, Baker's been a part of it. All the quarterbacks are very athletic now. Might get some guys with their heads cut off, like, chickens with their head cut off, like Jackson Dart, but that includes the scrambles in two. But this trend's not going away. It just rises every single year. And I don't know, Baker maybe of all people was the one that made me think of it. Now, bringing that up, 49ers have allowed the 6th fewest yards per scramble this year. So speaking of Fred Warner, his two-way play, how fast the back end for the 49ers defense is, like, they don't really allow a lot to scrambles. And then the other thing is Rashad White screens. And I was like, I mentioned this to you last week, or you or Matt, I think maybe both, because I'm a caricature of myself and I'm a hack.
We definitely talked about Rashad White for sure.
We did, right? He has a knack for screens, and like he always has, like the former receiver in him. And yeah, we did talk about this. So I looked it up on Next Gen Stats, and I asked our friend Keegan Abdu to double check this. Rashad White has generated the most EPA on screens than any running back since 2018. Really, that's the furthest I can look back. It's probably till 2016, which is the furthest I can look back. He's generated the most EPA per target, the highest passer rating on screens. So it's not just eye testing. He's actually really good on screens. It was just kind of a fun observation that had some stats behind it. And so I looked it up. All right, this is another Fred Warner stat for you. How are the 49ers against the screens? That makes sense. Their defensive line coming at you. Okay, really aggressive. The 49ers have allowed 1 yard to running back screens this year. 1 yard. Yes. And I had Keegan double check it, and he's like, yeah, it's 1 yard. 1 total yard to screen. So kind of a nice strength on strength thing on some kind of the auxiliary stuff on top of the Bucs, some of the run game stuff. Screens and scrambles, it will be very fun because that's where Fred Warner really shows up. But had to throw in those stats here because I think it's going to be interesting in this matchup.
Well, it's just interesting. I think especially since Nick Bosa has come out or been injured, I guess they're just kind of like I guess they're just trying to keep stuff in front of them in all facets. Because even like that running back screen stuff was that's a great stat. But even if you just look at like their pressure rate and sack rate over the last 2 weeks, they've gotten a sack on 1.3% of opposing dropbacks. 1.3%. Wow. Yeah, and they are 31st in pressure rate at just 24% pressure rate since Nick Bosa got hurt. So Baker might not have to scramble this week, because if there might, it's not going to be any pressure. You can just pick them apart. So it's going to be really interesting. I just think Tampa Bay, they probably just have a little bit too much. And if you can't pressure Baker, like that's when he's going to be at his best too. When he doesn't have to worry about the rush and he's not thinking about, oh, am I going to make a play here? Or no, I'm going to fire downfield. And that's when he starts throwing interceptions. So if he can stay clean, it's going to be tough.
Crow hop Baker is scary. When Baker is in that rhythm, 1, 2, 3, and you see that big hitch and he's about to throw it, that means he's feeling it, because he only does that when he's feeling it. And I don't want to compare him to Favre, but the Favre crow hop, he has a very similar one where it's that full center fielder. I'm leaning it and then launching it. And that's a great stat because you feel it when you watch the 49ers. I mean, Michael Williams has been great against the run. He actually has more pressures than I expected, but he's just bull rushing. He's just bull rushing. So it's like, all right, fine. All right, you're going to bull rush me from the backside. That doesn't affect me as a quarterback. What affects me is you bull rush me, then Nick Bosa's winning to my front. So I step up and then the bull rush gets home, like that. You need those compliments. So obviously that's a great stat, Charles. All right. Predictions. Bucs are favored by 3. What you going with?
It's funny. I came into this thinking San Francisco. I think I just talked myself into Tampa Bay. So I think I'm going to go Tampa Bay. I think this is a good day for their offense. And I think I'll take 49ers to cover the spread. It's going to be a close back and forth game.
I'm with you. I think there's going to be some sloppy moments because just how these teams are. They're not, neither of them are perfect, I think, but I also think there's going to be some really good ball, especially on offense. So I'm going with the Bucs too, but it's not a knock on what the 49ers are. They're Shanahan's getting the most out of it. I didn't name him as my coach of the year at this point, but he's second to me. I gave it to Steichen. But it was like, this is the best he's ever. I mean, 2023 was maybe his magnum opus, but this is probably the best work he's done as far as like just grinding out wins and putting together game plans. But I am going to go with the Bucs, but I think this is going to be a great game, a very entertaining game.